Okay, that worked.
Cool.
Very good.
Excellent.
Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to state that this meeting of the Akron Vacant Commercial and Industrial Appeals Board will now come to order. I'd like to start with a motion, ask for a motion to suspend the rules of this board requiring in-person attendance, in-person participation, and in-person voting.
I will so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, none opposed. Thank you for that. Next, we have approval of minutes of February 10th. Members, have you all had a chance to review those? If
Yes.
so, any requested changes? And if not, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from the February 10th meeting.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved unanimously. I'd like to read a short statement here before we get into the case hearings. This board hears two types of cases involving particular properties. First being appeals of notices, orders to comply, and the second being reports of hazardous buildings from the Department Director of Neighborhood Assistance. Representatives of the city, owners, and other people in control of the property, neighbors, other interested parties, all will be recognized and given an opportunity to be heard concerning the particular property involved. We will ask that any person appearing today that intends to speak at this hearing on a particular property be sworn in prior to their testimony, which will be done individually at that time. Our order of presentation will be as follows. First, the city will present a summary of the history of the property. Second, those speaking in favor of the appeal or in favor of rehabilitating the property will be heard. Third, those speaking against the property or against the appeal will be heard. Finally, those in favor will have opportunity to respond to the comments of those against. With that, we are going to start, I believe, with new case hearing number 008-21. This address is 1823 Triplett Blvd.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. York,
thank you. Could I swear in Mr. Johnson and Mr. Dixon before we get started?
that would be great. Yes, please.
And Mr. Greger. Okay, so I see also there's a Paula Lambus on the
Yeah.
line as well?
Yes,
Okay. And are you there with the owner of this property?
I am. It's Edward Denuccio.
Okay. I would like to swear both of you in, Ms. Lambus and Mr. DeLucio, as well as Mr. Greger, fire department representatives, and Mr. Johnson. If you could all raise your right hand, please.
Raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
He's the judge.
No, I'm just the city's attorney. I just wanted to make sure you were sworn in.
Okay. With everybody sworn in, Mr. Johnson, would you like to summarize this case?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Case number 0008-21, address of 1823 Triplett Boulevard. This building is vacant, dilapidated, tax delinquent, not registered in the VBR. Mr. Chairman, the deterioration condition of this property makes it a public nuisance and a blight and a safety hazard to the neighborhood. It is tax delinquent in the amount of $2,860.20. Property was purchased in 1970. Mr. Chairman, we'd also like to add that Mr. DeSozio, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is here with his neighbor to help him with the technical as well as other issues. and we would like to hear what Mr. Sargent has to say about his plans for this building.
Okay, before we do that, just to confirm, we've sent notifications but have had no contact so far with the owner.
No, the owner, once we did send the contact information out, the owner did come into the office. I was not here at the time. He spoke with the receptionist and Mr. Lash. And there was some communication issues, but they tried to do their best to give him an understanding of what this hearing was about and how it would work. He returned, I believe it was the next day, and spoke to Rachel Brunson. She again had some difficulty with communications with the owner, but conveyed to him that it was necessary for him to be a part of this meeting and to find someone to help him, because he had said he did not have a computer, he did not have a cell phone. So at that time, we were quite concerned of how we were going to be able to communicate this with him. At some point, she did give him my cell phone number and told him I needed to inspect the inside of the property. But somehow that communication got kind of mixed up, I guess, because yesterday I came into the office about 1 o'clock, and there was a phone message from his neighbor Paula, who's on the Zoom call right now, said that there was an inspection scheduled, and they were waiting for someone. I called her back, told her I could be there in 5 minutes, but she told me that the owner wasn't feeling well and was laying down and asleep and wasn't available. But no one had scheduled a inspection with me, and as far as I know, not with Jamie as well. So there's been some communication problems here, and we would, now that we have someone that looks like they're willing to help the owner with this property, and he has another property that's up for today's hearing as well, we'd be willing to work with them to try and get a line of communication going and inspect inside of these buildings and see what's going on here.
Very good. Thank you for that update. With that then, I'd like to turn it over to the owner and I guess the neighbor who's here to assist. If you guys would like to enlighten the board as to what's going on here. Hello? Yeah.
Yes, we're here. I have Eddie here. Eddie, they would like to ask you what your plan would be with your property. And you did tell me that you had a potential person that was interested in so you look in the camera and talk to them and let them know like your plan.
That is right. I have a person that's interested in some of my properties, and if not all, and I'm hoping that something will materialize in soon as possible.
Well, that's great, but we're concerned with this particular property today. So is there someone that is going to buy this or what's, specifically what's going on with this property?
At this time, he had boarded up the property. Perhaps I could look in my phone. There's a person that hit almost the building, and he had it boarded up, so there was no more vandalism. And the police I don't know if they tried to get a hold of Eddie, but a car like vandalized his property, so he put wood up for now. But we'd be willing to, set up a time. I know you guys have like a date that you want to get this inspected. So I personally cannot drill the screws out of the door for that particular property. We can get somebody and have Mr. Johnson, I think that's his last name, the one that I spoke with yesterday, come out and do a inspection within the next 30 days, if I can get, I'm sure I can get someone to take the wood off the door for this property.
And that's what would be required to get in?
That's correct, sir. Yeah, there was an accident. I think it was like in September, and there was a police report. The pole's still out there. It was leaning against the building. That's why we boarded everything up. So, and we have the gentleman that did, board it up. So,
When was the last time somebody was in this building? Like with commercial activity?
Eddie, when was the last time somebody was in that building as commercial activity?
Which building?
The 1823.
Well, 1823 was Monsieur, Madge Monsieur was there.
Do you have an approximate date?
1823, you said.
Correct, sir,
Yeah,
right?
but not the one
Well,
next.
how long has it been vacant?
How long is, we're going to be doing both of them, but our concern right now is the 1823. He wants to know how long it's been vacant.
I can't remember because the other people came and wanted like that. Trying to think, that woman, she works for the city that wanted that thing, and because of a feud with her sister that lives in back of me, she didn't want it. But there were Midge and Monsieur was the last name that was in the building. I remodeled all that inside.
But you don't recall when you don't recall the last time it was up and running. That's what they're asking.
Yeah, I can't remember, but they opened the regular hours. They opened up for regular hours.
I should say it's been a long time. Is that correct?
He's asking, so it has been a long time, right?
It's been a while, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think it might be relevant to know that the city's research has revealed that this building is in foreclosure.
It is.
Yes.
Is that a tax foreclosure or is that a bank foreclosure? Do you know what kind of foreclosure we're talking about?
It's tax, sir,
Tax?
if I may ask or say. And that would be on both of them that we're going to be discussing today.
Well, I guess the obvious question, follow-up question is, what do you plan to do about that?
He's selling his properties and gonna just let him go, like pay him off and sell them. He is a potential buyer on one property and pay him off and sell. If I can help him anyway, I'm gonna do it.
Okay. Well, do you understand what we are here today for?
I understand, and I do believe Eddie understands.
So the condition of the building,
Mhm.
what can you tell us about that?
At my knowledge, I've never been on the inside of his building, so I cannot answer that in an honest answer. I know the outside is nice. Sorry guys. But I can't answer that. I don't know what I've never been in them. So.
Well, okay. So what is the desire then, Mr. Denuncio? What do you want it to do? Do you want to save this building?
He wants to know, do you want to save your buildings?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add at this time?
Did you want to address the court of any information that you want to tell them this time on that property?
Well, a lot of this, the buildings that I have are all set up for the liquor establishment. They all house liquor licenses.
Do you
And
have active liquor licenses?
what did he say?
I did,
Do you
What
have
was-
active liquor licenses?
do you have active liquor license?
Not at present time. I did have at the present time, and I had to renew them at the tune of around $2,500 a piece. And and trying to get someone to take it over that's knowledgeable, that instead of trying to make it through, because I dealt with this business all of my adult life, and I've seen many when people operated a liquor establishment, they let anything go to get that money for the booze, and it's not. I didn't find it feasible to do it that way. And a lot of times, not getting the right people in there is the reason why it's vacant and don't have an operator in there. But I scan them, and a lot of times I try to find somebody that related to somebody that I know, and I feel more comfortable with it. But at the same time, you know, you can't. None of them come with a guarantee, as everybody knows. So that's the reason why they were like that. And I can't operate it. I'm almost 90 years old. I can't operate it. And that's the reason why I don't have no family at the time either.
I would like to address also, since we're under oath, Eddie is in contact now. He is going to be selling his property for approximately $90,000, and whatever monies he owes, he will be paying whoever bought the deed for the taxes. And this should be done within like 30 days, to be honest. I mean, we're not going to lie, you know, we're sitting.
So that includes this property?
That will be paid off with that money that he's going to be getting for 1464 Main Street. And he's going to be selling one of his properties.
All right, I'm a little confused. Are you saying that this property is to be sold, or a different
Well,
property
he's
is to be sold?
He's going to pay the
using
taxes.
proceeds to pay the taxes.
He's going to pay the taxes and get everything caught up, and he's letting go of his properties. We had this discussion. He's not going to have debt. He's paying whoever bought the liens for the taxes. He's going to pay them, and he's going to sell these properties. And he is a potential buyer for one of his properties now, where it's guaranteed. I'm not going to lie. The guy offered $90,000 for the one in Caldwell Falls. So if you give us a little time, and I beg the court to help, I just found Eddie, and I'm doing everything in my power for, you know, to help him. We just need a couple weeks. I can give you the guy's name. He just texted me.
Just to be clear, that's great,
Mhm.
but our primary focus is not the delinquent taxes, it's the building itself.
Okay.
So the safety and everything that goes with the building is what we're here for today. So, but I mean, the rest of that sounds good. You know, it needs to be done.
Right.
That's not what we're here for.
Okay. So you just want somebody to inspect the properties, and if they need to be tore down, that has to be correct. And I'll explain that to Eddie. If they're bad, they're getting tore down regardless, right?
That's not totally my decision, but
Okay.
it's essentially, yeah, that's what we're here for.
Okay. So Eddie, what we're basically here for today is if one of those buildings, when they go in and take pictures and it's not suitable and it is very dangerous, they're going to tear these buildings down, but you're still going to own the land.
No, I can't afford to lose the building, because you need the building to get a liquor license.
But you're 90 years old and you're going to go get a liquor's license. We need to do what we can. These gentlemen are trying to help you. If the building is not stable, or if there's whatever, if it's not suitable, they have to tear it down. That's their ordinance.
Oh, the buildings are stable.
Well, then feel free to let them come in and inspect them.
Yeah, I don't front on that.
Okay, well, that's what they're.
Yeah, I don't front. The inspectors are welcome in there.
Okay.
No, I don't front on that at all.
Okay. Anything else to add?
What do you say?
Do you need anything else to add?
Oh, no,
Okay.
I definitely need to save them because that's all the money that I earned all my life that bought this stuff. I don't want it to be dirt in the land. What good is a vacant land unless you put something on it?
Okay. Mr. Johnson, how did this property come to your attention? Was there a complaint or was it just a routine kind of?
It's been vacant for a while. And there has been some complaints in the area. And like I say, it's in dilapidated condition. It's not one of the worst buildings we've seen as far as the outside, but the building is in need of some repair. But also, it's not registered in the VBR. We've been trying to get a hold of the owner ever since the program started, and we haven't had any success with him registering the property.
Okay. What's the city's opinion otherwise?
The city is willing to give the owner some time to let us see what it looks like on the inside and put forth a plan to deal with it. The building is secure, but he must register it and address the tax delinquency. But we're willing to give him some time and see if he bears fruit in any of his expectations. 30 or 60 days, whatever the board may feel, the city would support that.
Members of the board, I kind of hogging all the time here. I'm turning it over to you with any questions or comments for anyone. Okay, well, Ms. Lambus, I would say that, you know, the board's going to make a motion and a vote here on what we want to do. I would ask that, is Mr. Denuncio aware he needs to register this building with the city?
Do you know that you have to register this building with the city?
I didn't register for what?
He wants to know register for what?
As a vacant building.
As a vacant building.
No, it's not a vacant building. It's I remodeled the inside.
You have no one in there running that establishment, so it is vacant.
Oh, not at this time.
So you have to register with the city that it's vacant. It's vacant.
Well, I never knew.
Okay, so
I never
now-
was.
You have
That's
to register
what
it.
we're telling him now, that he needs to do that. That's going to be very important going forward.
You have to do that now. And we will move forward. You have to register it as vacant because that's the law.
Well, I can't answer that. I can't answer that
Well,
because it's not vacant. All the fixtures is there. It ain't just bare walls. I spent a lot of money in there. Both of them. Both of them. I spent a lot of money in there. It ain't not vacant.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would probably be appropriate for the board to just go ahead and consider its
I
motion.
deal with the liquor
and
department. I
decision.
never had any problems with it.
This really doesn't need to be a matter for debate. The board can make its decision, and then Ms. Lambus can explain it to the owner offline, so to speak.
Thank you.
okay. Well, before we go to a motion, is there anyone here else to speak either for or against? Okay, well, with that, I would ask the board for a motion here.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion on case number 0008-21-823 Triplett Boulevard that we give him a 30-day extension to address the VBR registration, delinquent tax, and the inspection of the building. And then after that, we can come back and discuss the condition of the building and see if it possibly okay to go ahead with it or possibly demo the building.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed. All right, so Mr. Denuncio, we have granted some time. Your cooperation going forward is going to be key to what happens in the future. So we hope that you would register this building with the city and grant the inspections that are going to be needed. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. York.
could I just add for clarification, so there's no confusion? The date of the next meeting is April 14th at 9 a.m. Do I have that correct, Mr. Johnson?
Oh,
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
he caught me off guard here. Let me get my calendar out. Yep, April 14th.
Very good. So it'll need to reappear on this on April 14th. In the meantime, we'd like to get the inspections done, so. All right, that concludes that item. The next one we have is new case hearing 009-21. This is 1849 Triplett Boulevard. Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this building is vacant, dilapidated, police activity, and not registered in the VBR. The deteriorated condition of this property makes it a public nuisance and a blight and safety hazard to the neighborhood. The property was purchased in 1989.
Police reports.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the previous discussions that we had about 1823 pretty much apply here as well.
Okay. Mr. Denuncio, anything to talk about with this property?
They're asking, would you like to say anything about this property?
Well, not more than what I've already said. I'm waiting for the right somebody that's able to carry on the operation of a liquor establishment. Both buildings are set up for liquor establishment, nothing else. Or else there'll be people in here. I spend a lot of money inside and out. The inspectors are welcome to come in and look at it. It's okay with me.
Very good. Members of the board, any questions? Anyone here to speak for or against? Okay, hearing this testimony and seeing it's pretty much the same as the one we just heard, I would ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, on case number 0009-21, 1849 Triplett Boulevard. I'd like to grant a 30-day extension with 3 requirements. That there is an inspection of the property by the city. The building must be registered in the vacant building registry, and the tax delinquencies must be addressed.
Very good. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Okay, Mr. Denuncio, we'll see you back here on April 14th. Please get the inspections done.
With the coronavirus and everything, will we be doing a Zoom again as we are today? Like, should,
That would be.
Most
my
likely.
anticipation
Okay.
is-
okay, thank you. So he'll come to my house if that's fine with everyone here present.
Very good.
Please contact my office. This is Mr. Johnson. Please contact my office to set up an inspection with myself and the fire department as soon
All
as
right.
possible.
Sounds good.
After today, though, after
Af-
today, anytime after today, please call.
Okay, we'll do it on Monday for sure, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
I
Okay,
didn't
thank
hear.
you. I'll explain, okay?
Hmm.
I'll explain.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the folks who are here to speak on 1015 East Tallmadge Avenue.
Very good.
1015 East Tallmadge.
Okay. Do we need to swear in Mr. Blvd?
Yes, I can do that. Mr. Shearer, could you unmute the microphone? And I'm going to go ahead and swear in Mr. Blvd. Sir, if you could raise your right hand, please. Right hand.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, do we have an update here?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, case number 0013-20, address of 1015 East Tallmadge Avenue. It was last reviewed on January 13th, 2021. At that time, the board ordered that he complete all work within the occupancy and obtain an occupancy permit and provide a proof of permits and the interior work. To this date, he has done some work. I haven't seen the permits, but he has a tenant that has started doing some build out to put an office in there. He has sent a request to the neighbor to allow him to cut the trees down because the access to those trees were from the neighbor's property. I spoke with the neighbor. The neighbor is willing to work with him to do so, so he can paint that side of the building. But he has done some things that we're pretty satisfied with his movement. We still would like to see those occupancy permits, but we think there's enough going on here that the board consider to release Mr. Blvd from the further review.
Very good. All right, so can the owner and or his attorney provide update from their side of things?
What Mr. Johnson indicated is pretty accurate. The most up-to-date information is the neighbor. I did send a letter to the neighbor so we can get permission to cut down some trees and to paint the side of the property building. She called me and said she would send me the consent form back that I sent to her. She never did. So I'm a little leery to have him just trespass and start doing things there, but we're going to keep working on that. I will follow up with that neighbor. I'll keep pushing. It sounds like Mr. Johnson did the same thing as well. So I'm going to keep pushing to get a consent so we can walk across her property, remove some of the trees and so forth, and get that side painted. Also, the tenant has communicated with Mr. Blvd, indicating that the tenant has applied for an occupancy permit. And they just had some communication over the last couple of days regarding that. And I guess the tenant right now took a trip. I had some business out of town, But when he gets back in, he's promising us he's going to do what he needs to do to get the occupancy permit.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Johnson.
The owner of the property next door, she indicated to me the reason why she hadn't filled out that release form because the name was wrong on the paperwork, her name. So seems to be some communication or discrepancy on what name should be on the document.
Okay. Well, maybe Mr. Shear can revisit that and make sure she gets the correct name there. Mr. Johnson, I had a question for you. They talked about the occupancy permit. Are there any other permits that need to be required? Or
Well, he had some electrical work done, and so we would like to make sure that it was done correctly. And I think the fire department has some issues too that needed to be done through permit. Jamie, could you speak to that, please?
I'm gonna have Steve Dort talk on my behalf on this building.
It still seemed like there's quite a bit of work to do inside, electrical wise, the leaky roof. And as was mentioned, that the trees outside need to be cut down. But there's still some work to be done.
is that something you need to inspect when it's completed?
Yeah, yes, when it's all done, we'll have to get it back out there and do a full
Right.
inspection.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Shear, any comments on what we've heard regarding permits and inspections?
No, other than we will continue to try to make those things happen. As you can tell, everybody here, the tenant and Mr. Lodgeford are very cooperative with one another, and they're actually anxious to get this concluded, the reconstruction, the refurbishing of the property concluded so the tenant can get in there and start paying rent. And so they can use it and start to make some money on the property. So everybody's really anxious to get it done as much as you are.
Great. So, hearing all that, Mr. Johnson, would you recommend 30 days we come back and see the progress on all that?
We would be okay with a 30-day if that's what the board feels. The city would be all right with that.
Okay. All right, members of the board, any questions? Any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Dort. Mr. Dort, you said a leaky roof. How bad is the leak what kind of condition is the roof in?
I know he fixed the southeast side. There's still some in the center of the roof that was just a little bit of a leak, not real bad, but it did deteriorate the ceiling tiles. And some of the ceiling has fallen down, but I don't know. He must not have replaced the whole roof if that's still leaking over there.
He replaced the front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else to speak against? Anyone else to add anything for? Hearing nothing, I would call for a motion.
Okay.
Oh, okay, with respect to 0013-20, 1015 East Tallmadge Avenue. We have work going on. That work, which is in process now, will need to be inspected. That would include interior work, electrical, the roof issues. Of course, the painting remains needed. And I would recommend a 30-day inspection from today, or to bring it back in 30 days to see where we stand and proceed from there.
Okay, and just for the record, that would be April 14th. So with that, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Okay, then, keep up the progress. We'll see you back here on April 14th.
Very good. Take care. Thank you.
You too. All right, we were going to go to, are we still looking at the Ira Avenue? Is the next item?
Yes, that's correct. I'm going to bring in Mr. Mendenhall. One moment.
Mr. Mendenhall, you want to unmute there, please? I'm still showing you as muted.
Got it.
There we go. Thank you. So this is item number 007-21, new case hearing, address of 115 and 119 Ira Avenue. Before we begin, is there anyone here that needs, I believe we need to swear somebody in?
Yeah, we have two people here. We have Aaron Clackler and his son Keith. I'll move the camera over to them. I think you can see him there.
Very good. Mr. York, would we swear these gentlemen in?
Sure. Is it Mr. Clackler and Mr. Clackler?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, could you please both raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. Mr. Johnson, can you summarize our case here?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, case number 0007-21, address of 115 and 119 Ira Avenue. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, these buildings are vacant, dilapidated, heavy fire damage, and not registered in the VBR. The deterioration condition of these properties makes it a public nuisance and a blight and a safety hazard to the neighborhood. These properties were purchased in 1997. Mr. Chairman, we are back here because there's been a discrepancy about which buildings are to be demoed. If you can see the screen that Mr. Greger has put up, the board already ordered building 1 and 2 down for sure. I don't think that there's no discrepancy in those two properties. We're here today to make sure it's clear and understood that the city recommends and believes that building 3, 4, and 5 should be a part of that demolition.
Okay,
Could I just clarify, Mr. Chair?
please, Mr. York.
This is John York. Just to refresh the board's recollection, this was presented to the board back in July of 2020. And at that time, the city inspectors and representatives spoke of this as one structure, perceiving these buildings, which appear to be, they are interconnected and adjoining, which are labeled on the screen as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But at that time, the presentation referred to one building, and it's the city's position that the board ordered all of those buildings or all those portions of the building demolished However, when we got to court on the appeal case, that's when the discrepancy arose about exactly which portions the board addressed. So we felt it would be worthwhile to get it back in front of the board for clarification so that if and when the city proceeds with demolition, it will be clear what the board has ordered demolished, if anything.
Okay, so again, 1 and 2 are not being part of this. It's 3, 4, and 5 as depicted in the diagram.
Correct. 1 and 2 is not any discrepancy. Am I correct with that, Mr. Mendenhall?
Yeah, in fact, my clients are prepared to tear down 1 and 2. They've got an estimate, and I believe they're going to do that in the next month or so. They have a contractor who's ready to tear those down, and we had agreed actually with the city to have those torn down. So we're in the midst of contracting for that.
Okay, so what is, I guess, what is the story with what's labeled 3, 4, and 5?
Well, 3, 4, and 5, I was out on site with the fire inspector and the building inspectors. We have submitted a structural report, which you have, that shows that those are separate buildings. And in fact, some work has been done on 3 on the roof. It had a leak in it. That's been repaired. So we have plans right now. Obviously, we want to get the demolition done. But we are going to remove items from the yard there. You see a number of vehicles in the yard. We're going to remove those from the yard, and we have estimates for the roof repair. I think it's about $24,000. I did not have that roof repair when I sent the exhibits in, but I did send it over this morning. But we, once we get the demolition done and the yard clear, then repairs can begin on the 3 remaining buildings. And we, like I said, I expect to have the demolition done,
45 days.
within the next 45 days.
And it's your opinion that 3, 4, and 5 are all structurally sound?
Yes, it is. We did submit that structural report. So one of the buildings even has steel beams in the roof. There is like I said, we did submit this morning, there's a $24,000 roofing repair that needs to be done to seal those up. And then we need to meet the requirements of the fire department in terms of making sure all those buildings are accessible and that they can enter the buildings and reach all parts of the buildings internally there.
Okay.
So right now, I mean, just to be clear, my client is contracting for $54,000 in demolition and roof repair right now. And that is going to proceed.
He's available tomorrow.
The demolition guy?
Yes.
Okay, so we can proceed on the demolition. We're planning to proceed on the demolition anyway, but
I just got confirmation.
we just got confirmation by text this morning that it's going to start, that they'll be able to start demolition tomorrow.
All right. Has the city been able to confirm or get in to see 3, 4, and 5?
Yes.
Doug?
I personally met with the city and went through with, like I said, the building, fire. Mr. Johnson was there and went through all 3 buildings.
Okay. Anything else to add at this time?
Mr. Chair, I think it would be worthwhile to hear from Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I was going to do that next. I wanna make
Okay, sure, sorry.
That there's nothing else to add from the owner's side. If not, then yeah, I'd like to hear from Mr. Johnson and then certainly Mr. Dixon.
Mr. Chairman, we haven't been inside that building since November 18th. And at that time, if you would, could you go to picture 18, please, Mr. Greger? And you can see the condition, that's building 3. And, you know, there's some serious issues inside of there as far as windows being broken. There's some holes in the wall. There was some leakage in the front part. Building 5 and 4 had serious roof damage, cracks in the bricks, no windows. In the rear of building 3, right where it connects to building 5, it has, that's in slide number 19, Mr. Greger. It has a chimney that has bricks that are falling out there. These buildings are in very, very bad shape as far as when we seen them on the 18th, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Dixon, is there anything to add to that?
Yeah, and there's a lot of fire loading in all those buildings there, a whole bunch of lumber, cars, other materials that we were worried about. Parts of the buildings you can't access because there's so much stuff inside them. And also I wanted to ask, they got an estimate on the roof for $24,000, but what about the walls? Because I noticed in the engineer's report that some of the walls were in pretty bad shape too.
Right. Okay. All right, Mr. Mendenhall, anything to comment on as far as the condition of the building itself as well as the contents therein?
Yeah, I mean, we have a structural engineer who looked at the buildings, and they can certainly be repaired. And the structural engineer did mention the walls; they need to be fully grouted to get them fixed. You know, at this point, you know, my client's prepared to do the work. And that chimney that will be coming down. I think I can. You won't let me share the screen, I guess, but you know, that's part of the roofing estimate is to tear that chimney down to the roof line. Get it off the building.
What about everything inside the building itself?
We've got to meet the fire code on that. We absolutely understand that. Obviously, this is a fairly large project that we're engaged in. So the first thing is we got to get the demolition done. That'll clear the way. Then we got to get that yard cleaned up, and then we can get access to pull items out of the building and get them ordered in a way that meets fire code. So right at this point, we have plans to do all of that, starting with the demolition.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Johnson.
The city is concerned that these buildings been in bad condition for a long time.
Now you are on the clock.
And we're just concerned about, you know, the fact that it's been like this for such a long time that it's just too far gone.
Okay.
If I may respond.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Clacker is 84 years old. You know, we certainly recognize, that's why I have his son here. His son is in the construction and demolition business, and we've had to have, he's had a long conversation with his dad about the property and what they want to do with it. And at this point, they are prepared to proceed. You know, I think our, you know, they don't want to save buildings that are beyond repair, obviously. That's why they agreed even initially to go ahead and tear down the front two buildings. And apparently that's going to begin within a day here. And that's the first step to salvaging what remains salvageable there.
Well, if you don't mind my asking, what's the ultimate goal here? What do you plan to do with the property?
What do you say?
Well, Mr. Clackler and his son, they have, they have, like I said, his son has a construction business. I mean, those buildings still would be used for storage of materials, but they'll be stored in a manner that is acceptable in terms of the fire department being able to get in and access those buildings. We're prepared to meet the fire code.
We already met part of it. So with the fire department get in there.
All right. That's all the questions I have at this time. Members of the board, I would turn over to your thoughts and perusal.
If I may, could I have Keith Clackler speak very briefly, the son of the owner?
Sure, go ahead.
You know, my dad has had this. He is 84 years old. His health has been up and down in the last couple of years. He's had a lot of things going on. I broke my hip here about 2 years ago. I took care of that.
One at a time, please. One at a time, please.
You know,
that's why I want to let you guys know he has been, his health has been bad. He has not allowed me to really step in. I have not been part of this for all these years that you talked about as far as this building being dilapidated. He is allowing me now to take over. This is my business. This is my livelihood. He is giving me the green light and that opportunity to get himself on the good side with the city. So.
thank you very much for letting him have a little input.
Absolutely. Members?
No question.
You said you've had a structural engineer look at these 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, that's right.
Are there reports from that review?
There is we sent the structural certification page in to you as an exhibit.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I believe Ms. Brunson sent that out last week or early this week.
I apologize, I missed that.
Yeah, so
That was the report, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Dixon just referred to in his comments.
Okay.
and I believe the structural engineer said it was in bad conditions as well.
All right, well, anyone else here to speak either for or against this one? Hearing none is, I guess I'm gonna call for a motion on this.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion on case number 0007-21, 115 and 119 Ira Avenue. Due to the heavy fire damage, dilapidation, chimney, walls, roof, I'd like to make a motion that this building should be demoed due to there has been no progress since July of last year. The heavy fire load is in there that was taken back in November. 4 months later, we still have that. And I think we should go ahead with the demo.
Okay, to be clear, can can we establish we are talking about buildings 3, 4, and 5 as labeled in the exhibits that we've been given?
Yes, make that 3, 4, and 5. The owners already agreed to 1 and 2 to be demoed. And I'd like to make a motion for building number 3, 4, and 5 to be demoed as well.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Opposed? None opposed. So the board has voted for demolition of all buildings.
Thank you very much. We're going to proceed with our demolition, and then we will appeal the board's decision. Talk to you soon.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mendenhall.
Thank you.
Okay, we wanted to take the West Exchange Street property next. Is that correct, Mr. Greger?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm going to bring in Mr. Columbia right now. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Columbia, do you have video? Mr. Columbia, can you hear me? Hello. Are we sure he's there?
We are,
I see his name, but all I see is a graphic.
everything's looking okay on this end. He may be away from his phone or computer. I could put him back in the waiting room. There's only one other person.
I don't really want to wait. Why don't we do that and take whoever's next?
That would be Mr. Mariner for 270 North Forge. One moment.
Mr. Mariner, you want to unmute? And also, do you have video?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Getting a little background noise, but I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, where are you? I'm getting a lot of background noise. Hello? Mr. Mariner?
Mr. Mariner, you're muted now.
We see you, but you are muted. Can you unmute? Okay. Can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me now?
That's a little better.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're
Getting a lot of
okay.
background.
Yeah, you're the video's okay. Here, let me roll over. Yes, sir. 1 minute. Is that better?
Yeah, but
Everyone, is that better?
it's better, but we're still getting some background. All right, Mr. York, can we swear Mr. Mariner in?
Sure, Mr. Mariner, please raise your right hand.
This connection.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, you want to summarize where we're at on this one?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, case number 0028-20, address of 270-272 North Ford Street. This case was last reviewed on February 10th, 2021. At that time, the board ordered that the owner, continue making repairs. To this date, we haven't had any opportunity to see if he has been making any repairs. He hadn't scheduled a appointment for an inspection with me or the fire department. I did talk to the owner yesterday. He said he had a little mix up there. But if you could pull up, you look at the screen, you can see the last photos we took. There's still some issues there that we feel could have and should have been addressed. Especially, can you pull up 41, please, Mr.? Yeah, you see the trash is still there that was supposed to be gone. There is some brickwork that we're concerned about, even though Mr. Mariner has talked about the weather being a problem. We still feel that some of this work could have been done regardless of the weather. We have plenty of other buildings that we've been dealing with, and people have been able to get stuff done, but he hasn't done anything. The city is not satisfied at all with the progress, the non-progress of this property and its owner.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Mariner, would you care to address those comments? Is he gone? I don't see him now.
Yeah, he's not on the call anymore. I mean, he's not in the waiting room.
All right. Well, disappointing. He was a no-show last month, correct?
Correct.
Mr. York, what are our options to move forward here?
He's back in the waiting room. I'm going to try to admit him again and see if this works any better.
Unmute, please, Mr. Mariner. We can see you. We cannot. There.
Do I have you now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna, now that I have you back, let me walk back into my vehicle right here on the side, and I lost the Wi-Fi connection.
Well, we heard an update from the city while you got connected. Basically, what we were told, there has not been any progress. So can you address that?
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, did you hear me?
Okay, just say that one more time, sir. I'm sorry.
While you were disconnected, we heard an update from the city on the lack of progress. Can you address that?
Yes. The month of February was that the last Zoom meeting was February 10th.
That's the one you didn't show up at. And you're down again. All right, this is not working real well.
Mr. Greger, are there others in the waiting room?
I believe the gentleman, it's now Mr. Mariner's back.
Mr. Mariner, you're cutting in and out. Are you going to be able to do this? This connection's no good.
I haven't, Suma, okay, it says weak. Oh, man.
Mr. Chairman, one thing I could recommend is you could move on with other business and give Mr. Mariner an opportunity to find a location where he has service.
I can hear you right now.
Yeah, but you keep cutting in and out. We can't conduct business this way. We have to find a place where you have good connection.
All right, can I,
Dial back in.
how about if I drive to the Starbucks Wi-Fi where I did this?
We're going to move on to other business. I mean, if you have a good connection, dial back in and we'll try to work.
I think I have it pretty good right now, though.
You have terrible background noise. The background noise is just unbearable. You need to take care of that.
Okay. Okay.
Let's go to who's next.
I'm gonna go ahead and bring Mr. Columbia back in for 517 West Exchange.
Okay, he's M&M Realty. Okay. Is he 12016? Is that him? Can you unmute, sir? Mr. Columbia, you are muted.
There you go.
Okay. We hear you. Can you hear us?
I certainly can. Good morning.
Good morning. Do you have video?
I do not have video, sir.
Okay, well, we need to swear you in for your testimony. I'm going to ask Mr. York from the law department to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Columbia, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, can you summarize this case, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, case number 0006-21, address of 517 and 519 West Exchange Street. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this building is vacant, dilapidated, not registered in the VBR when this report was prepared on 2/24/21. I would like to add he did register this building in the VBR. I believe that was Monday of this week. Mr. Chairman, the deteriorated condition of this property makes it a public nuisance and a blight and a safety hazard to the neighborhood. This property was purchased by the current owner in October 15th of 20. So he is a pretty new owner, but the building has been vacant for a long time. It was unsecured. They did secure it. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. I drove by there and it was finally secured. There's been homeless activity in there. There's structural damage on the inside, but conversation we've had with the caretakers of this property, Mr. Columbia and his associate, I believe they are willing, if they haven't already started the process of signing a volunteer waiver to have this property demoed, but we still would like the board to consider taking action.
Okay. Mr. Columbia, can you tell us what's going on with the property?
Yeah, I think what was just said is accurate. It was recently purchased a few months ago. We have taken measures that we can to secure it and try and, close the gaps and keep people from getting in. And right now, I just received on Tuesday, I believe, the program that Rachel was able to share with me, and also Mr. Johnson spoke to Jason and I about, which is the demolition program. And that's what I'll be going over with the owners of M&M Realty, who I report directly to in the coming days.
Okay, so did they have the position on the waiver then, or do we know that?
I have not shared those. I have not shared the documents with them, but I will be seeing them in the next 2 days. They're aware of the property. I did speak with them. I spoke with one of the owners, Nathan, briefly, and he said, great, when you get the documents, let's get together and let's figure out whatever the next steps are. So
He's expecting.
that's where we are.
Okay. All right. Anything else to add?
No, I mean, we want to be good partners with the city for sure.
Good to know.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. York.
Thank you. Could I ask him a few questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Columbia, my name's John York. I'm an attorney with the city. I understand the owners may be considering the demolition waiver. Am I correct that the owners really don't contest the buildings need to be demolished based on their current state, but there's just some consideration given to whether or not to take advantage of the city's program?
I wouldn't be able to give you 100% answer on that, but I can tell you from looking at the program and obviously the overall condition of the buildings, what we could possibly use them for, to be for our business needs, I would, in my eyes, I think probably demolishing the buildings would be the reasonable step. But again, I would want to make that certain with the owners of N&M Realty. But certainly the buildings do require, extensive measures, if not demolition. And demolition is probably the more likelihood. So
Yeah. So there's not real dispute about the way Mr. Johnson characterized the buildings?
no, I think Mr. Johnson's information that he shared was fair. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Mr. York. Members of the board have any questions for anybody? Okay, is there anyone else to speak here for this property? How about against? All right, hearing none. Mr. Columbia, do you have anything else to add?
No, the only thing I will add is if you'd like me to reach out to Mr. Johnson or anyone that is part of this hearing and stuff with what our plans are in the near future, let me know, or specifically how to go about doing that. But I do expect that we'll have more information for you in the short time.
All right, very good. Yeah, I think that's probably wise. So, okay, members of the board, no comments. I guess I would ask for a motion then.
Make a motion for case 0006-21, 517 and 519 West Exchange Street. Given that the property is a blighted safety hazard and a public nuisance, and the owners are willing to review the demolition waiver and are considering it, I would like to make a motion to demolish the building.
Thank you. You have a second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None
Well-
opposed? The board has voted for demo on this.
Okay, so sir, let me understand then, we don't have any other recourse or any, there's no, I can't have a little time to speak with the owners from M&M Realty to
Well,
make sure?
I'm going to say that the board has voted, moved and voted for demolition. I don't think the city is going to be breathing down your neck timing wise too hard, although I'll defer to them directly on that. But yeah, I mean, you do have legal recourse, but it's not through the board.
And sir,
That's fair, I understand that. Yeah.
yeah, and Mr. Columbia, just to make clear, the city will still, work with the owners if they would like to take advantage of the demolition waiver.
Okay.
Okay. And then any appeal rights, I mean, if they decide they wanted to contest, any appeal rights would be stated on the notice that the city will be sending them.
Got it. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Mr. Colby.
Okay.
Okay, anybody in the waiting room?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mariner has not made his way back to the waiting room. I would certainly recommend maybe moving back up to the top of the agenda to the
All right.
688 Arlington case.
Let's do that. So this is new case hearing number 5-21, address 688 South Arlington Street. So nobody's here for this one? No? Mr.
No one
Johnson,
is here for this one. There's no one else here for any case at this point, Mr.
thank you. Mr. Johnson, summarize this one for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Case number 0005-21, address of 688 South Arlington Street. This building is vacant, dilapidated, tax delinquent, and not registered in the VBR. The deteriorated condition of this property makes it a public nuisance and a blight and a safety hazard to the neighborhood. It is tax delinquent in the amount of $26,471. This property was purchased in 2005.
And we've had no contact with anyone.
No contact with anyone. I did speak with a business owner across the street in dealing with another vacant property in the area that he owns. And he indicated that this building has been vacant a long time and there has been issues directly across the street from. He has a thriving restaurant appliance and business, and he says there's been issues with that building. He's had to call the police several times over the years.
Okay.
I invited him to be a part of this meeting, but he said he would if he had time, but I guess he couldn't make time.
Okay, thank you. So we haven't been inside.
Nope.
All right. Board members, any thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, this is John York.
Yes.
Could I ask Mr. Johnson a few questions? I'd like to avoid the situation where we had with the Ira Street property or Ira Avenue. I want to make sure we know what we're talking about here. Mr. Johnson, could you describe this building and then also explain whether it's connected to any other buildings?
This building is not very big in size. It's probably about maybe 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. It's one story. I don't know if it has a basement or not. And it's a standalone building on Arlington Street in between a closed Church's Chicken and a vacant lot and a house that's not on the property behind it. Not a very big building at all.
And it's your recommendation today that that whole structure should be taken down?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Johnson. Have there been notices put on the building?
Yes, there's been many notices put on the building. If you see the screen right now, where you can see the front of it, you not only see notices that I've put on there, but notices from the fire department in yellow, and then those white pieces of paper, they've been on there on and off for years. They are from the nuisance compliance department, as far as high grass and weeds, cars parked in the vacant lot next to it. And I believe the building was even had some homeless activity at one time, according to the business owner across the street. But every time I've been by that building, those notices from other departments have been up there. Every time I've posted notices on this building, other departments have posted notices on there. And they've been up there so long, they've changed colors.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the board? All right, for the record, anyone here to speak for or against? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion.
Okay, case 0005-21-688 South Arlington Street. Vacant, not registered, dilapidated, unsafe, and a blight to the neighborhood. I recommend demolition.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Okay. Still no one in the waiting room?
Mr. Mariner, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mariner is back in the waiting room. Would you like me to attempt to admit him again?
Let's give it a shot. Oh, I'm not seeing anything.
It says that he is joining.
Oh, joining. Okay. Give it a minute, I guess. Unmute, please, Mr. Mariner. Still muted. No, we cannot hear you. We can see you, we cannot hear you. You're on mute.
Mr. Chair, I'll try to put him back in the waiting room, give him a chance to come in again and initiate his audio. One moment.
Okay. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be working real well.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Can you see me?
We can see you.
Okay, I took a chance on Suma's Wi-Fi. I beg your pardon. I'm down here at Starbucks where I've done these before. So if everything's good, this is welcome.
All right, I'm going to recommend we start all over, given everything going on here. So for the record here, this is review case hearing number 28-20. The address is 270 to 272 North 4th Street. Mr. Johnson, I want to ask you to reiterate what you said before regarding the status of this.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, case number 0028-20, address of 270 and 272 North 4th Street. This case was last reviewed on February 10th, 2021. At that time, the board ordered that the owner continue making repairs. As I stated before, the city is not satisfied with the repairs that have been made, if any. We haven't been able to get inside of the building to see what else has been done, if anything. I did talk to the owner yesterday. He indicated to me that there was some mix up as far as inspections and when and whatnot, due to the fact that he wasn't able to be in the meeting last month. He also had indicated that the weather played a part in him not being able to do certain things to the building. We feel that some things could have been done. Other buildings within the city of Akron that we've been dealing with, property owners have been able to make some repairs and do some work around the weather. February, we did have some bad weather, but we had some decent working weather as well. If you could put up slide 41, Dwayne, you can see that the trash that he agreed to get rid of is still there. And we thought that could have been removed, and it hasn't. It's still there to this day, as of yesterday, should I say, when I drove past and looked at it. The city is not satisfied at all with the owner's lack of progress here.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, Mr. Mariner, would you care to address those comments?
Yes. So as far as going back to February, it was just a month as far as weather, and nobody wanted to go out there. The snow, like I said, the snow was too deep. Nobody could pull in, and I just knew I had to get through February, not to mention it being tax day for property tax payers. So it was just a rough month. The weather's better now, and so the month of March, my earnings for March is what I'll do to have the building, the refuse company come in and take care of that problem. And right now, I've been over there since early this morning. Right now, the brick mason, the ground finally thawed, because you know, it just takes a couple of days of warm weather for the ground to get soft again. So he should be there right now with his guys to pour the footer for around the corner that Mr. Johnson made mention of a month ago. And then he's going to, and then the holes in back, they brought block, and they're going to do all that. So they're there probably right now starting work on the masonry issues on the bottom corner and the back. I absolutely have that much going on right now. If you know, Mr. Johnson on his way home, if he even drove by, he'll see the people working over there now on that foundation problem. And then as far as that refuge there, that's going to be the first thing. When I had the fire marshal come out in February, and they walked through with Mr. Johnson, took pictures, they seen the insides, they seen the fire damage, they seen everything. And at the same time, I had two local guys come out just so I could have everything looked at once. And it looks like they're gonna do the work for me. And so that debris that's out there on the lower side, that'll be the first thing that they load up, even before going inside. So that's really the issue. Is I don't have any way of getting that. If I'm going to pay somebody to empty the place out, I might as well have them take that as well. I mean, it's just it's unfortunate for me, but this month I'll have that gone first before they even go inside.
Okay. We'll turn over to members of the board for the questions, comments, or thoughts.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mariner, you
Go
saying
ahead.
due to the weather, you have not been able to do no work at all on this building?
it's just, for me, it was just the month of February. I mean, it was 2 solid weeks of snow and freeze from my last Zoom meeting forward. It was just a bad confluence of taxes being due on that property and the weather. Like I said, right now, the weather's warm. I'm able to get things moving now. And including, I have a garage door that will be installed on the Ford side. That's already in the building, and I'm going to have that door on now that the weather is warm. I just had to get through February, which is a horrible time for a work detail on a property. It's not a house. I mean, this thing is, I mean, if it was inside of a house and I had the furnace on, it'd be different. But this place is cavernous, it's cold, and nobody wanted to do any work over there. And I know we had a few warm days towards the end of February, but I had to kind of flip it around money-wise, as far as having the company come in to empty it out and taxes being due. I had to flip it. I wanted to pay my taxes in February, and then my earnings for March, I would be freed up to pay to have a service come out and take care of this problem. I just had to flip it around. It's just, the month of February was just a bad confluence of things for me, taxes and the weather, and it stalled me out. But
So
I'm sorry.
Is finances that tight where you flipping things around just to try to meet the demands that the city is requiring you to do?
No, it literally had everything to do with, I had over $2,000 in property taxes to pay. It's either I didn't want to be late on my taxes, so I had to take my money, pay taxes on the day, and then get that out of the way. And then for March, with my earnings for March, I can then pay to have it emptied out. I can pay for services now. It was just, I had to flip it around. It was just February. It's just a bad month.
So you're saying that you will have finances to take care of the rest of the building requirements from the city?
That's my intention, yes.
Okay, that's all, Mr. Chairman, from me.
The masonry should be done by tomorrow. The corner and the holes are going to be, he's there now probably, and we got tomorrow yet, and feel free to drive by and see the progress. It's happening right now, but you got to, once the ground freezes, you got to have a few days of fall. The first warm day isn't going to do anybody any good because they can't break the ground to pour the concrete around that corner. So I had to wait a few days for the weather to thaw the ground. I mean, it's just how it is. I apologize for the delay. I truly do, but it just, things are moving, but the weather had to get right for me. It just wasn't possible. And I can't make people, this brick mason, no brick mason is going to do work in the wintertime with the ground froze. It's got to be, the weather's got to be conducive for them to do their work so they can give me a good job for what I'm paying them for. And so, I mean, with all due respect, I have them there now. I'm doing the best I can, moving forward with the warm weather, and from here forward, I'll definitely have progress to show everyone on the board. I absolutely will.
Anyone else? Johnson, when did this first appear on our agenda?
I'll have that on this week on the Fort side. When you drive by, you'll see a new white double insulated garage door on the roadside.
Okay. We'll get back to you, Mr. Merriman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, when did this first appear on our agenda?
Let me see. Let me pull back the records here. November 18th, 2020.
Okay. I was thinking it was longer ago than that, November.
That's what I got here.
Mr. Mariner, I guess the problem I'm having right now is you've given this board assurances ever since you first appeared, and we haven't really seen much progress. You're telling us you're working on it today. Last month, I don't believe you showed up. So what assurances can you give us going forward that you're going to do what you say and continue to do the things that need to be done?
So I just wanted to ask you, did you say I didn't show up last month?
Right,
No, for the Zoom meeting?
right.
No, sir. I sat right here, Starbucks Wi-Fi, and I sat for an hour and a half on wait, and I just figure I got booted off. I sat right here for an hour and a half on February 10th. And then it wasn't, and then after an hour and a half, Mr. Johnson gave me a call and explained to me what took so long and what happened. So I was absolutely here for last month's meeting.
Okay. All right. My apologies then.
Okay.
All I know is when came time for your case, you weren't there. But
Mr. Chairman?
that aside, my question still remains. What assurances going forward, given
Okay.
that we've heard this since the very beginning?
Okay. I look at every allotment of time as a milestone. For instance, November 18th, all the way through to Christmas. There were 3 cars in there. The extraction took time. It wasn't, one had to go to Allstate. Just getting those things out was a real fiasco. That was an accomplishment, getting those out of there. And I did it, working with people that, I had to go through a couple tow truck drivers just to get somebody to come in on the grass. I didn't know tow truck drivers don't drive on grass. It just took some negotiating to get that done. Once I handled that, January and February happened. And now that the weather's warm, like I said, the biggest reassurance I can give you right now is if any of you were to drive over there, you would see the work being done right now. The 2 holes in the back, I put plywood over that and anchored them with concrete screws just in the interim until I could get the weather warm to get my brick mason over there to do the work. So, that's definitely a positive with what's happening right now on the property. So, I mean, you can rest assured that you're going to see that taken care of, and you're going to see a new garage door on the front of it. And I've got no trespassing signs posted all the way around it. I have security cameras above each no trespassing sign, and it's just a step-by-step process to take the property back. And I feel like I am making strides. I feel like I'm moving forward now. I do. If Mr. Johnson wanted to drive by in a week, he's going to see that masonry done. He's going to see a garage door on it. That's for sure. That boarded up plywood won't be on the front anymore. It'll be done right. And then there's another garage door on the high side, but that's got to be a special order garage door. They don't make them 8x10, so and that's not a problem. But I'm going through Menards on that one, and I'll pay a company to install that one. That would be too much work for me. But yeah, the masonry and the garage door, you can expect that in a week.
Okay, one last question here. Outside of what you're saying is going to be done or is being done right now, have you contacted the city and along the way showed them what you've done?
I haven't really, because to be honest with you, the ball's rolling out for me. I'm just now making progress with repairs. As far as pulling the cars out, I didn't think that to take pictures to send. I thought just having them gone would be the proof that you wanted. I'm more than willing to, from this point forward. I do have an issue with. I don't have a smartphone. I have a flip phone, and I got this laptop I'm talking to you on. But Mr. Johnson made mention that I've got his number that I can text him pictures. I don't have a way of. I don't have a smartphone to send an email picture, but I could take progress report pictures and send them to Mr. Johnson's phone. Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I will gladly take a picture of the masonry and the garage door and send them to his phone this week.
Thank you. Anyone else speak for or against?
Mr. Chairman, I got one last question. Mr. Mariner, what is your intentions of use for this building?
Sir, at this point, I just want to reclaim it and get it back, get the repairs done. My desire by the end of this year is to at least have 100 amp service electricity on the lower side. As far as, leasing it out or using it for business purposes, I'm not sure. I think I had romantic thoughts when I bought the thing years ago because it was a historic building, and but I don't think I put too much thought into actually until later doing anything with it really manufacturing wise. I just want to get it back from the brink of disaster. I want to get the repairs made. I want to get electricity in there. I want to keep the grounds picked up. Like I said, that place over there, people dump anywhere they want to. So I had to learn a hard lesson. And if I would have had my security cameras up and no trespassing signs, I could have mitigated a lot of this trouble that I've had over there. And I'm not the only one, but I know what I have to do, and I know what it's going to take to get the thing back. It just needs. It's got 4 strong walls and a good roof. It just needs some TLC and the sidewalk. That's another thing I've been working on. The sidewalk was covered in sod. You could barely even see the sidewalk. I've been slowly moving. Shoveling and beautifying the sidewalk, which I'll have all the way down to the end of the building. So that way, an edge, that way it looks presentable, it looks nice, and it's easy to mow. And so there's many different fronts happening to beautify the place and make it look nice. And so that's another thing I'll throw into the mix with the masonry and the garage doors, edging and removing sod from the sidewalk to make it look clean and nice, like the Russell Products side. They do a nice job. They keep their sidewalk edged, and I'm going to do the same thing on my side. And that's just another part of the puzzle of bringing the place back to being a viable building. And once I accomplish those goals, I would even consider just putting it back on the market, and maybe a contractor would want to buy it, or a company would want to buy it. But the immediate goal is just to get it back from the brink of where it's at now. That's really my focus for 2021 over there. And I'm confident that I can do this. And I'm grateful for the amount of time the board has given. But I'm making progress. I'm from this point forward, I will take pictures of every step that I do, and I'll send it to Mr. Johnson's phone. I'll continue to make a catalog of progress, and I'll send it to his phone.
Okay, just a few moments ago, you spoke on having 100 amp servers into the building by the end of the year. So you don't look at this building being viable until the end of the year?
Well, does electricity does it mean that it's not viable without electricity? I mean, that's my goal. There are higher ticket items that have to be accomplished. Electricity would be like icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned, but I have to I have to do other repairs first. Electricity isn't a necessity for me in the summer months. I have solar lights that I bought that I'm going to install in key areas around the building. So they'll come on at dusk, and it'll have the appearance of having utilities. So electricity really is the last thing for me. It's all the other things that I want to repair and take care of first. that is my intentions by the end of the year to have electricity in there. It is. But everything else has to come first for me on that.
Thank you.
Board, any other questions? Anyone else to speak for or against? I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, the city does have a recommendation on this one.
I'd like to hear it, Mr. Johnson.
As I said, the city is not satisfied with Mr. Mariner's progress. Some of the work could have been done. Some other things could have been cut down or changed, but our recommendation at this point to the board is demolition.
Okay.
Could you repeat your recommendation, Mr. Johnson?
The board recommends, excuse me, the city of Akron recommends demolition.
Thank you.
All right, board. Anyone care to make a motion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on case number 0028-20, 270-272 North Forge. On the recommendation of the city, Mr. Johnson, demo, I also agree with the demolition due to there's been no progress on the building. I'm sure it's been only a short while since ownership has been taking place, but there have not been no progress. Also, he stated that he don't really think he will have it viable to the end of the year, and I don't think that's what this board is for, is to have a building continuation of renewal, remodelization for a year. So that'd be my recommendation as a demo.
So that is a motion. Okay, we have a motion to demo. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unopposed? This board has moved the demolition of this property, this building.
How is that just? That is absolutely unjust. I am making I've got somebody there now I'm paying to do masonry work on the place. I'm moving. Why can't you give me 2 months to show you what I can do? If I can't show you something in 2 months, then absolutely. I take the place down, but I have plans to move forward on this place. 2 months isn't a whole lot to ask for an old building like that that's solid. It's not falling down. That building has potential. It's not falling down. If that thing was like that church at the end of Forge with supports holding up the walls and the roof burned out of it, I would totally understand. This building is viable.
Okay,
It was a slow start, but it is viable.
Appreciate that. You have made your case. The board has acted, and we're going to move on.
Give me 2 months to show you what I can do over there. If it doesn't come through, absolutely. But that is a historic building, and it's got
Again,
potential.
Mr. The board has made their decision.
Yes.
Mr. Mariner, I'm going to move you back into the waiting room. That your case has been heard, and you'll be apprised of your rights moving forward. Thank you.
All right. I believe we have one final case. This is a review case of review case hearing number 27-20, and the address is 1134 Brown Street. I'm assuming there's still no one in the room for this.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Chair. No one, there's no one left to speak on any case.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, case number 0027-20, address 1134 Brown Street. Last review was in February. No one showed up. The board asked me to contact the individual and check the progress. I called his cell phone on that day, the 10th, at 11:10 a.m., Mr. Fisher, at the phone number of 216-538-5101 is the number we had on record and the number I had contacted him in the past on. It went, Mr. Fisher's cell phone went straight to a voicemail and said that the phone was not able to take any messages at this time. It had another prompt where I could enter my phone number, which I not only entered my cell phone number, but I entered my office phone number. I had no contact from him at that point. We did receive an email today from Cheryl Johnson. It came to Rachel and myself, and it was CC'd to Tony, which is Mr. Fisher's first name. Anthony Fisher is his name. And it says that the city has been sending information to the wrong address. It gives a different phone number than what we have on record, and which I have talked to him on the phone that we have on record. So I'm not sure, how we're not getting through to this individual, but we've posted notices on the building each and every time. So the last review, he wasn't there. We don't know if the orders that the board gave were carried out or not, which was to repair the roof and get the fire load out. We haven't seen anything inside the building to indicate that has happened. The owner also had promised at the initial hearing that he would secure the parking lot. I will say that there's no longer cars and commercial vehicles parked there, but the parking lot is not secured as he said he would do. Mr. Chairman, the city is not very happy with the actions and inactions of this property owner.
So he was here on the initial appearance, right? And
yes,
from him since.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess for the record, anyone here to speak for or against? Hearing none. Members of the board. First, any questions? And if not, anyone care to make a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Dwayne Greger, House Administrator. I'd just like to ask Mr. Johnson, the information that you received in that email, does that indicate that we are not sending the notices to a proper address for this owner?
Yes, that's what it indicates. It says, it appears the city of Akron is sending notification hearings to the wrong address, 1350 West Market Street. That is an old address. Mr. Fisher updated his information at the last hearing around November 6th, goes on to say, but I haven't seen or known of any updated information. Rachel hasn't indicated anything to me about that. As I said, the phone number that we had on record is the number that I had talked to him before this building came on. Mr. Fisher was involved with a couple of other buildings over on Wilbeth, and I used that same phone number to contact him in dealing with those buildings that he did register at the time. But I think he's no longer involved with those buildings. Nevertheless, this is just news to me that we're sending stuff to the wrong address.
And that 1350.
I'm just wondering, and I can ask Mr. York, I'm sorry. I'm just
Rachel,
wondering, and I could ask Mr. York if it might be prudent, given this information, for if we were to recommend kicking this out until the April meeting to give us an opportunity to make service at this updated address and make attempts to contact the owner at this updated number.
Well, I guess either Mr. Johnson or Miss Brunson, where did we get that 1350? And I forget the street. Where do we get that address?
That 1350 West Market is the tax mailing address. And I just looked it up and it's still the current tax mailing address.
Right, and pursuant to the code, that's where notices get sent, because the theory is, if that's where you get your tax bill, that's where you should get your mail about that particular building.
But let me go on,
I
Mr.
mean,
York.
go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
And speaking about the taxes, that he was ordered to pay or start paying his taxes by the board. I believe at that time, the tax delinquency was somewhere in the area of $74,000. Last I checked on Monday, this building was in tax delinquency of over $94,000 now.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Johnson, since the last time this gentleman appeared before the board, what efforts have been made to notify him of the at least 2 meetings that he has not appeared at?
Phone calls. Rachel has mailed information to what address we have on file and postings on his building.
Yeah, see, that's where I think the notice issue is covered, because even if he wasn't getting the mail, he's got a building to take care of, and it had notices posted on the front of it. Not to mention that he appeared before this board before, and he was obviously aware that this was on the board's agenda. And at the last meeting that he appeared at, the board told him, be prepared to come back and we'll see your progress. Of course, he just hasn't appeared. So in my opinion, he can't avoid what may be inevitable just by not showing up. I think the notice issue has been covered. So if the board were to order it demolished, in my opinion, the notice will not be an issue that can be attacked on appeal.
Yeah, this email goes on to say that he's in California and just heard about this hearing today.
Well, he may have just heard about this one, but he heard about the one that he missed previously, the last time he was before the board.
I agree.
He was also emailed the link for the meeting on Monday, and it's the same email address that's in the email that was sent to us this morning.
Thank you.
Bottom line, basically, it seems like we do not have an issue with notice.
No, notice is covered. So if the board were to order it demolished, I think that's adequately covered. There wouldn't be any risk of, in my opinion, a court finding lack of notice.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And that is the City of Akron's recommendation.
Thank you. Okay. With that cleared up, members of the board, anyone have a preference on a motion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, with respect to 0027-20 1134 Brown Street, the city isn't happy with the work that had been done, and they're even more upset, I believe, with the inability of the owner of the building to connect with the city. So therefore, with the fact that he's $94,000 in delinquent taxes, and I would recommend demolition of the building.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed? So this board has moved for demolition on this property. Okay, I believe that concludes our agenda. We have our next meeting on April 14th. Any other business before the board?
Other than I'll be out to get signatures, everyone.
All right. With that, then, with no other business, this board is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.